Hi, everybody. In a few hours, it's going to be 2022. Hard to imagine, huh? I'm going to do something a little different as we go into this new year. Um, when I was in graduate school getting my master's in theology, uh, a very good friend named Jill told me about an author named Walter Wangerin, Wangerin. And he had written a book and a story called Ragman. And I'm going to be honest, it just touched my heart so much. Now, tonight, what I want to do is just share with you that story. And I want to encourage you, uh, look up and find the book Ragman by Walter Wangerin. And I encourage you to download it, buy it, whatever, and read it and think about what it says. Uh, it's a very beautiful Christian writer who uses prose to really speak to the heart. And I hope that this blesses you. And I hope that this gives you hope as we enter into this new year. Ragman. I saw a strange sight. I stumbled upon a story most strange, like nothing my life, my street sense, my sly tongue had ever prepared me for. Hush, child, hush now, and I will tell it to you. Even before the dawn one Friday morning, I noticed a young man. He was handsome and strong, walking the alleys of our city. He was pulling an old cart with clothes both bright and new, and he was calling in a clear tenor voice, "Rags!" All the air was foul, and the first light was filthy to be crossed by such sweet music. Rags! New rags for old! I take your tired rags, rags! Now this is a wonder, I thought to myself, for the man stood 6 feet 4, and his arms were like tree limbs, hard and muscular, and his eyes flashed intelligence. Could he find no better job than this, to be a ragman in the inner city? I followed him. My curiosity drove me on, and I wasn't disappointed. Soon the ragman saw a woman sitting on her back porch. She was sobbing into a handkerchief, sighing and shedding 1,000 tears. Her knees and elbows made a sad X. Her shoulders shook, and her heart was breaking. The ragman stopped his cart. Quietly, he walked to the woman, stepping around tin cans, dead toys, and Pampers. "Give me your rag," he said so gently, "and I'll give you another." He slipped the handkerchief from her eyes. She looked up, and he laid across her palm a linen cloth that was so clean and new that it shined. She blinked from the gift to the giver. Then, as he began to pull his cart again, the ragman did a strange thing. He put her strained handkerchief to his own face, and then he began to weep, to sob as grievously as she had been. His shoulders now were shaking, and yet she was left without a tear. This is a wonder, I breathed to myself, and I followed the sobbing ragman like a child who cannot turn away from mystery. Rags, rags, new rags for old. In a little while, when the sky showed gray behind the rooftops and I could see the shredded curtains hanging out black windows, the ragman came upon a girl whose head was wrapped in a bandage, whose eyes were so empty. Blood soaked her bandage, and a single line of blood ran down her cheek. Now the tall ragman looked upon this child with pity, and he drew a lovely yellow bonnet from his cart. "Give me your rag," he said, tracing his own line on her cheek, "and I'll give you mine." The child could only gaze at him while he loosened the bandage, removed it, and tied it to his own head. The bonnet he set on hers. And I gasped at what I saw, for with the bandage went the wound, and against his brow it ran a darker, more substained blood, his own. "Rags, rags, I take old rags," cried the sobbing, bleeding, strong, intelligent ragman. The sun hurt both the sky, and now, in my eyes, the ragman seemed more to hurry. "Are you going to work?" he asked a man who leaned against the telephone pole. The man shook his head. The ragman pressed him. "Do you have a job?" "Are you crazy?" sneered the other. He pulled away from the pole, revealing the right sleeve of his jacket. Flat, the cuff stuffed in the pocket. He had no arm. "So," the ragman said, "give me your jacket, and I'll give you mine." Such quiet authority in his voice. And the one-armed man took off his jacket, and so did the ragman. And I trembled at what I saw, for the ragman's arm stayed in its sleeve, and when the other put it on, he had two good arms, thick as tree limbs. But now the ragman had only one. "Go to work," he said. After that he found a drunk, lying unconscious beneath an army blanket, an old man, hunched, wizened, and sick. He took that blanket and wrapped it around himself, but for the drunk he left new clothes. And now I had to run just to keep up with the ragman, though he was weeping uncontrollably and bleeding freely at his forehead, pulling his cart with one arm and stumbling for drunkenness, falling again and again, exhausted, old and sick, yet he went with terrible speed. On spider's legs he skittered through the alleys of the city, this mile and the next, until he came to its limits, and then he rushed beyond. I wept to see the change in this man. I hurt to see his sorrow. And yet I needed to see where he was going in such a haste, perhaps to know what drove him so. The little old ragman, he came to a landfill. He came to garbage pits, and then I wanted to help him in what he did, but I hung back. Hiding, he climbed a hill. With tormented labor, he cleared a little space on that hill, and then he sighed. He lay down. He pillowed his head on a handkerchief and a jacket, and he covered his bones with an army blanket, and he died. Oh, how I cried to witness that death. I slumped in a junked car and I wailed and mourned as one who has no hope. Because I had come to love the ragman. Every other face he had faded in the wonder of this man. And I cherished him. But he died. And I sobbed myself to sleep. I did not know, how could I know, that I slept through Friday night and Saturday and its night too. But then on Sunday morning, I was wakened by a violence. Light, pure, hard, demanding light, slammed against my sour face, and I blinked and I looked, and I saw the last and the first wonder of all. There was the ragman, folding the blanket most carefully, a scar on his forehead, but alive. And besides that, healthy. There was no sign of sorrow nor of age, and all the rags that he had gathered now shined for cleanliness. Well, then I lowered my head and trembled for all that I had seen. I myself walked up to the ragman. I told him my name with shame, for I was a sorry figure next to him. And then I took off all my clothes in that place, and I said to him, with dear yearning in my voice, "Dress me." And he dressed me. My Lord, he put new rags on me, and I am a wonder beside him. The ragman, the ragman, the Christ. Please think about what this story says. Whether you're a Christian or not, this story holds a deep message for all of us. Happy New Year, and may it be one so full of hope. God bless you.